everybody. Today's class address has two parts to it. The first part is I'm going to talk about accessing your grades and the comments and feedback that I give you. And then the second part is going to be talking about our digital resumes. So for the first part, let's talk about grades and how to actually access them. On a typical assignment, instructors have at least 2 weeks to get the grades back to you. I try to do this much sooner. However, because this assignment had 2 documents submitted for each person, it takes a while. As you'll see, I do leave quite a bit of feedback for you, and I ask questions and I give you alternative ways of maybe writing something, mainly because it's my way of communicating with you. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go back and revise those documents, answer those questions, or anything along those lines. Again, it's just a way for me to have you think about your document in a different way, because typically as students, once an assignment is submitted, we consider it done. And the idea here is that our documents are really never done. So there's always something more to do, something to think about it. And if you think about your work this way, you'll really start to see some progress over the course of the semester in your writing. So let's talk first about how to find your grades. So I've created this slideshow on how to find your grades and my comments. I know on the ethics memo or letter that you wrote, I had a few people wondering about how to find the comments. They couldn't access it. So first off, let's get to some of the basic stuff here. When you go into grades, you will find the report. So here it was for the submission feasibility report. You'll go all the way over where it says see attached, and you'll click on that information right over there, and it'll pull up the assignments that I've given back to you. It will look something similar to this. You'll be able to see what you've submitted, and then underneath it, there'll be that section where it says feedback from instructor. And for this assignment, you will have 3 uploads. You'll have my overview of your grade breakdown and a few overarching comments. And then you'll have the actual memos with some more detailed comments. Now, if I made a comment on one memo, I did not make it on the second memo. That doesn't mean that you didn't maybe make the same error or that it didn't happen on the second one, but I'm only giving you feedback on issues on one memo. So in the second memo, you might have done something differently that I'm going to address. So make sure you look at all 3 attachments. Now, when you're downloading the file, you want to make sure that the document you've downloaded doesn't look like a web page. If it looks like a web page, you actually need to move your cursor to the bottom of the page and hover in that area and then save it as a file to your desktop. That will then bring up the bubbles with the writing in there. If that doesn't, then you'll want to right-click on the bubble link and that will open up. So again, I like you to think about the comments that I'm making. Think about maybe some of the questions that I'm asking. Think about how things could constantly be rewritten. This will really help you become a stronger writer and constantly think of your work as almost always a work in progress. Overall, you all did an excellent job on the MOIs. I was really impressed. We haven't gone over APA citation, so I was impressed with your use of APA citation for the most part. We're going to go over APA in our next unit, so we'll really hit it hard, and I'll be looking at specifics for that citation and for those practices. The one thing that I want to comment on is that if you are paraphrasing, summarizing, using phrases, wording that are exactly from the original text, that it must be quoted and cited. If it's exactly that, if it's summarized or paraphrased, then you should be doing a citation at the end of that work. That way you don't fall into that plagiarism danger zone. So it's just a little reminder as far as that goes. So I want to take a minute and talk about the digital resumes. As you look at last week's playlist, hopefully you had a chance to watch the digital resume slideshow. A few minutes into it, it does talk about the details of what you need to have in that digital resume. These are some of the basic things that it should include. But how do you actually go about crafting one of these slideshows? Some of the things that you have access to are things like Prezi, you have PowerPoint, Keynote, or any SlideRocket. And SlideRocket's a really good one. It's a free access, and you can easily create a slideshow presentation here. They have a bunch of great templates. It's pretty easy to use. As I said, you have both Keynote and PowerPoint, so you can create something that way. It can play on its own. That's the one thing that you really want to keep in mind, is that it's something that a person could navigate without you standing there and interacting with them. So how are you going to create your presentation to stand alone? We talked before about templates and what might be appropriate or what might not be appropriate. So you can see this is Keynote here. This craft one might not be the most appropriate for if you're applying to a very traditional type of company. But if you're applying to an organization that is maybe a bit more whimsical, that might be your choice. Doing something that's maybe a little more classic and streamlined might also be your choice. And you can play around with what's here and what they have. Same thing with PowerPoint. You'll notice that they're themed out. They have several different things. So you want to pick something that is going to work with you, but also work with the organization that you're applying to. So these are just some things to kind of keep in mind. Remember that anything you download off of the internet it needs to be cited. So if you're including pictures, from Google Image or something along those lines, that does need to be cited. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and do that. If you're still really confused about the digital resumes, my recommendation to you is to come to this digital resume examples. Look through some of the examples that are in here that I've uploaded and click through them. Also, in last week's assignment, which is due today, I have these 3 examples here, and I've asked you to come to VoiceThread and engage in the VoiceThread conversation that's happening around these 3 slides. A few people have already commented on them. So a few people have actually already commented on the 3 that are here. I put a little images of each one, so if you wanted to talk about each one specifically, you could comment specifically on that page, or if you wanted to talk about it as a whole, you could come to the beginning and talk about it there. Again, VoiceThread is really easy. You just come to this comment section and then you click record, and you can record your voice, or you can come here and click type and type out your message. So again, this is a good place to kind of come and engage, thinking about some of these things, about maybe how to create it, what to do. If you still have questions, don't hesitate to ask. As a final note, I'd like to remind you, if you go back to our course blog, that I have a link here for our Digital Composition Studio, and they're a great resource for you. They're located in the English department, but you can also come over to their tutorials page. And as you scroll down, they have some really good tutorials of maybe how to use Keynote or create a PowerPoint. They talk about PowerPoint here. So there's some things here that could really help you in creating your digital resume. Or you can always contact them and make an appointment. When you scroll over here, you'll see that their email address, and you can always shoot them an email to make an appointment. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more information kind of about the digital resume that wasn't already in that slideshow and in the learning unit, but just some basic tools that you can use and how to go about it. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. All right, I hope you all have a great week. Peer review will be coming up on Thursday, so make sure that you're getting all your pieces and parts together and ready to be posted.